Alright, so you're probably thinking, Kevin, why are you sitting on the floor? But I'm not in the business of answering questions. I'm in the business of talking about books. So that's what we're gonna do. I've been wanting to do like a vlog style sort of video for, I don't know, probably since my last video. Probably even before that. I'm just really lazy. As evidenced by my not having uploaded in, I don't know, going on 9 months, 10 months, something like that. Who knows, 8 months. So we're gonna do a little vlog. I'm gonna talk about every book I've read this year and the books I'm currently reading. And we're gonna do it by month. This month, we're gonna talk about January. I started off the year pretty good. I've read 32 books so far. So yeah. But we're gonna start with what I'm currently reading. I am currently reading The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. I'm looking at my camera and this shit is backwards. Like the text is back. It's like mirrored or flipped or whatever it is. So I hope I can fix that. But Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. I'm a little bit into it. I started it a couple days ago. I'm on page 176. It's good. I don't really know where it's going. What I do know is that David Mitchell is apparently pretty good at getting you attached, or at least interested in, characters within a relatively quick time frame. I was attached to Holly almost from the get-go, even though she can be kind of a shit. Ed Brubeck, I was also really interested in him very quickly. He does not have a lot of time on the page in the first section, but I really enjoyed him. And Hugo Lamb. I know he pisses people off, rightfully so, because he is a piece of shit, but I like reading about Hugo. So yeah, I guess this is some magical realism type stuff. It feels a little Clive Barker light, like in the lightest sense of the word or phrase, Clive Barker light. But yeah, so we'll see where it goes. I know it gets even weirder, but The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell, my first David Mitchell book. I'm also reading debut author The Silver Blood Promise by James Logan. This book came out yesterday. I'm about that far into it. I was cheating. I was listening to the audiobook at work. About 170 pages into it. It's good so far. I'm pleasantly surprised. It definitely feels a little Scott Lynch, Sebastien de Castell-esque. Speaking of, some point in this video, we're going to talk about Sebastien de Castell. Spoiler alert, greatcoats, really good. Yeah, there's still plenty of time for me to get especially attached to these characters, but Lucan Gardova feels like a pretty easy character to root for so far. And Flea, a young girl in this book, a thief, you know, very, very Lamora-esque. I love her already. She feels kind of like Chalmers from last book of Greatcoats. I can't remember the name. I'm a terrible person. I gave that a spoiler alert. I gave the last book of Greatcoats 93. Cannot remember the name of that book. So, oh well. But yeah, Silver Blood Promise, good so far. And then I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. I'm reading my third Cormac McCarthy book. This is Outer Dark. So I read another book that we're going to talk about later that kind of got me into the mood for some Appalachian Southern Gothic. What better way to do that than Outer Dark? So I've read Child of God and No Country for Old Men before, So I wanted to do this one as a little bit of a warm-up for Blood Meridian, which is on my must-read for 2024. Because there's a like 5-hour video on YouTube about Blood Meridian, and I want to watch the video, so I have to read the book. So I'm using this as a warm-up. I am famously not a huge fan of McCarthy, but the last two, or the other two books I've read, I did on audio. This one I am reading with my eyeballs, so I can properly, you know, appreciate what he's saying. And it's pretty good so far. It's pretty good so far. I might understand it now. And then the other book I'm reading is this fucking monster, The Blackest Heart by... Fuck, I messed it up. The Blackest Heart, published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Of course, this is by Brian Lee Durfee, BookTube darling. I'm about halfway through this book. Book one, I thought was pretty solid. You know, a little more spoiler alert for coming up in this video. Book one, I thought was pretty solid. Book two, it kills me to say, I'm struggling a little bit. It's not hitting the way it's supposed to. I don't know if it's mood. I don't know what it is. Because there's a lot of cool shit in these books. It's just not clicking with me completely. But I mean, it's huge, and I still got half of the book to go. So maybe it'll come around. But that's what I'm currently reading, and I'm already 7 minutes into this video, so I need to fucking get it along. So this is my list of books. My list of books that I read in January, and we're gonna talk through them real quick. Gardens of the Moon reread. This bad boy right here. Not much to say about that. Amazing book, Malazan, my favorite series ever. Gardens of the Moon is a great first installment. Appreciate it much more on a reread. There's a lot of things in here that Erickson just straight up tells you, hey, this shit's gonna happen later. Or this is who this person is, and you're like, holy shit, I did not realize that on the first read. So yeah, Gardens of the Moon, super fun. I feel like not a lot of people talk about how fun Gardens of the Moon is. They're just like, oh, it's so confusing, which you're wrong. So yeah, Gardens of the Moon is great. Whiteout by Ken Follett. Holy fuck, this book was ass. I don't have much more else to say about that. Thriller with no thrills and weird teenage sex. So yeah. Let's move on to, let's just say, Winner of the World by Ken Follett. This book, this was pretty good. Covering the World War II era. I didn't like it as much as book one, which is Fall of Giants, but Winner of the World, pretty good. There's some like spy espionage stuff in there, which Ken Follett really loves. A lot of his books are like spy thrillers, but I'm not really into that, so I had to dock it a little bit. I think I gave it an 80 something out of 100. Ohio, this book right here, Ohio by Stephen Markley. I know if you watch my good friends over at StoryTube, Yolanda, excuse me, fuck, okay, I'll edit that out later. Yolanda over at StoryTube read this book for their mini month of Kev, which I will leave a link to in the description. Very endearing to me. Yolanda loved this book. Is one of her favorite books ever, and I agree. I gave this book a 100 out of 100. This is four people coming back, like converging on their hometown, like about 10-ish years after they've graduated, all on a single night. And as they, you know, meet people from their past, and see things from their past, they reminisce on a lot of things, and it switches back and forth between present day and flashbacks fantastically. There's some things of unreliable narrator in here where, you know, people remember things differently, and so you're not getting everything completely truthfully, and you gotta kind of make up your mind by the end of it. There's a little bit of a murder mystery in here as well. And if you don't know, I am from a small town in Ohio. I still live here, unfortunately. It's kind of a shithole, but it's very much like this town. In fact, my town is mentioned in this book. My small little town is mentioned in this book and actually plays a big part in Stephen Markley's other book, The Deluge, which I also will be talking about. So yeah, this book is fantastic. Read this book. I've read both of Stephen Markley's fiction novels, and I believe this may be the literary successor to Stephen King. I said it. I will link Yolanda's review of this in the description, as well as Carlos and Yolanda's, couple month of Kev videos, because Yolanda talks about this book way better than I do. So yeah. Demon Copperhead, which I don't have this book with me. It's in the living room because I'm trying to get my mom to read it. Demon Copperhead. This was the trailer park double feature, and they're both fucking bangers. Okay, Demon Copperhead spans the adolescence to young adult, early adulthood of Damon. I forget what his last name is. Not very good, but his name's Damon, but he goes by Demon because he's got red hair. It's either Virginia or West Virginia, another Appalachian small town. It deals with, growing up, the opioid problem in the late 2000s to early 2010s. It's very good. Very good, very hard-hitting, very heavy at times. And that is by Barbara Kingsolver, by the way. I didn't mention that, but I'll put a picture up over here. Demon Copperhead, fantastic book, especially if you're from the Appalachian area, or and like anything about it. Both of those last two books I've talked about, fantastic. I got a little bit of a curveball here for you. I read Pen Pal by J.T. Geissinger. This is a paranormal romance smut book. Yeah, I listened to the audiobook at work, which do not listen to smut books at work, by the way. Get yourself into some odd situations, especially if you're a guy, if you catch my drift. I'm kidding, kind of. What else? But yeah, Pen Pal was pretty good. I mean, it's weird. Yeah, they do some predator and prey sex play. Has a insane plot twist that, I don't know, might be the craziest plot twist I've ever read. So yeah. The Way of Kings reread. Here we go, boys. I really liked Way of Kings when I first read it. It was when I was first getting back into reading and fantasy and all of that jazz. I didn't like it as much this time around. I think I gave it a low 3-star. I've read all 4 of the Stormlight books that are currently out. I did not like Rhythm of War pretty much at all. And rereading Way of Kings, I could see a lot of the stuff that I don't like, or that I, quite frankly, that I hate. Like being planted here and there. Also, I listened to the audiobook, and Michael Kramer and Kate Redding both suck. So, yeah. Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I'll edit that out. Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I read this for my friend Tanner. Pretty good. pretty good. I love the movie. I think the movie's better. You know, shoot me if you want to. You can cancel me for that.
You can cancel me for that. I don't care.
Yeah, I think the movie's better. The book's kind of weird. It's not a. There's a little bit of plot, but it's largely a vibey aesthetic book, and I definitely didn't get everything that was going on. But you know, it is what it is. It was cool. It was cool. I think I gave it a 4-star. And Sorcerer of the Wild Deeps by Kaya Shante Wilson. This is an African-inspired LGBT romance, metaphysical, science fiction, fantasy, novella type thing. It's a lot. It's a lot. It also wasn't really a big plot book, but it was kind of just like a vibey book. And I don't know exactly what the vibe it was going for, but it was pretty cool. Very impressive world building for, you know, being about 200 pages, which once again is based off of African folklore and mythology, much like this book, Black Leopard Red Wolf, which I DNF'd. I read about 80 pages and DNF'd. Maybe I'll come back to it eventually. But yeah, Sorcerer of the Wild Deeps probably is not as good, but less of a commitment. Did it on audio. Another book that was maybe too smart for me. I've seen it compared to Book of the New Sun, which I also DNF'd this year. So yeah, that is my January books. That will conclude the first part of this vlog. We are looking at, we're going on 17 minutes here if I don't delete anything. So you may be looking at an 1.5 hour long video by the time we're fucking through with this. So, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'll see you in the next part. Okay, so I'm actually at the races right now because I'm a terrible booktuber and I'm not very good at this whole booktubing thing, which is, you know, pretty important if you want to be a booktuber. So you're probably gonna hear like cars pulling in and stuff, so we just got to deal with it. But here's the deal: I wanted to vlog like a wrap-up type thing. I've finished multiple books since the last section I recorded, which was my my January wrap up. So I need to wrap those up real quick before I get into my February wrap up. Silver Blood Promise by James Logan. I'll pop it up right here. I thought this was actually pretty good. Debut book. I thought it was kind of Locke Lamora-ish, not as in, you know, the story. Some of the setting is kind of Locke Lamora-ish, you know, maybe a little Italian inspired. It is swashbuckling, it's fun, the characters are easy to root for. Yeah, good book. I know you've probably heard a lot about it. Everyone is talking about it. Yeah. I also finished Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. I really liked Bone Clocks. The further I get away from it and the more I think about it, the more I like it. Except one part. I did not like the part where it actually gets like fantastical. Kind of fell flat for me. But overall, Bone Clock's really good. All of the character POVs were cool. Holly, I liked. Hugo, who is a piece of shit, I really liked. He's also hilarious. Crispin Hershey, my favorite character in the book. Crispin Hershey's the man. His section was so funny. I think he called someone like a cum-stained puss bag or some shit like that. So, you know, just stupid shit like that gets to me. Queen of Bedlam by Robert McCammon. I finished this book. This is book 2 in the Matthew Corbett series. Guys, if you like mysteries, if you like colonial pre-America in the very, very early 1700s, or if you just like good books in general, you need to read the Matthew Corbett series by Robert McCammon. It is just so good. The characters are so great. He weaves all of the plot threads together. Just 2 books, 2 masterpieces. That's all I'm gonna say on that one, because I will have to talk about Speaks the Nightbird later in the video. I'm rereading Memories of Ice. I started this like 3 months ago, and the same thing happened when I read it for the first time. I really struggled to get through the first half, and then once we hit book 3, it's just been straight gas. I am now listening to the audiobook. Since it is a reread, it's still kind of difficult to follow, but like I know what's going to happen, so it's doable. I'm about 600 pages through that, and the book I'm currently reading is Hyperion. Let me hold it up over here. Hyperion by Dan Simmons. The sun is kind of pissing me off here, but whatever. So yeah, there's kind of no glare, whatever. Sick ass cover. I'm about halfway through the book. I am literally like 10 pages away from finishing The Poet's Tale. Hyperion, really good. Okay, I'm not gonna say really good. It's good. Soldier's Tale, no, not Soldier's Tale. Priest's Tale was awesome. Love Priest's Tale. Soldier's Tale was pretty mid, except for like the last 10 pages. Last 10 pages, that was pretty cool. Poet's Tale, it's good. It's good, not as good as Priest's Tale, but it's alright. Again, picking up here in the last 15 to 20 pages of Poet's Tale. I'm always burping when I'm doing these videos. So now I have to wrap up my February reads, which include a full series. I read a full series in 1 month, and it may or may not have cracked my top 5 fantasy series ever. Not top 5 fantasies, but I can't speak. Not top 5 series, but top 5 fantasy series. Okay, but anyway, I reread Deadhouse Gates in February. Amazing book. Coltane, Chain of Dogs, Fellison, Baden. I don't really fuck with the Borg, I'm gonna be honest, but amazing book. All of the military strategy. It is, Deadhouse Gates is like really when the compassion, comes into play in the book, or in the series. So yeah. Also, yes, my hat is extremely dirty. This is my race hat. I will maybe throw some videos in of the races so you guys know what the fuck I'm talking about, but yeah. Anyway, moving on. I read Rose Matter by old Stevie King. This book was alright. It got really weird. I did like the stuff with the characters from Daughters and Sisters. I think that's what it was called, the home for, or the shelter for like battered women or something like that. Yeah, I really liked that section. Everything else, yeah, wasn't really a fan. Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. I finally finished I have it on the back here. I finally finished Lord of the Rings. Return of the King is my least favorite of the 3. Scouring of the Shire. Did we really need that? Probably not. And why was it so long? It did not need to be like, I get why it's there. Did not need to be that long. Could have been done in like 10 pages. Yeah, Return of the King. I'm sure you guys probably know that book. It's alright. Dregs of Empire by Christopher Ruocchio. It's alright. This is, of course, well, I can't really go into spoilers, but this is the Lorien Aristides novella. It's 320 pages long. Yeah, it's alright. I like Lorien from the point of view of Hadrian, not Lorien from Lorian's point of view. You know what I'm saying? Also, I just didn't find it that interesting. It takes place in a setting we've heard a lot about, and I didn't think the setting was all that cool. So yeah, Dregs of Empire, it was all right. I reread Lies of Locke Lamora. This is my number 3 favorite fantasy series, The Gentleman Bastards. When I first read Lies of Locke Lamora, I think I gave it a 4-star because I didn't understand the hype. I thought it was a good book. It was fun. I didn't understand the hype. When I continued on, I got it. I love just fucking swashbuckling romps. I love me some swashbuckling romps, okay? And these books are fun. They have good characters. They are rompy. That's all you need to know. Lies of Locke Lamora, easy 5-star book. And then the series that I read in February that made my top 5 fantasy series ever. I think it's number 5. So my top, I'm just gonna give you the list. Top 5 fantasy series ever. Number 1, Malazan Book of the Fallen. Everybody knows this. Number 2, A Song of Ice and Fire by George Railroad Martin. Number 3 is Gentleman Bastards. 4 is First Law. And if you put Gentleman Bastards and First Law together, put them together, what do you get? You get The Greatcoats by Sebastien de Castell. I read all 4 of these books in 1 month, and by read I mean I listened to the audiobooks. Joe Jameson is a fantastic narrator. So the Greatcoats are a group of traveling magistrates, and I don't even know how to explain this series. It's just really good. The amount of character development that happens in each one of these books for literally every character. There is not a single character actually, there is one character wasted throughout this entire series. Unfortunately, I'm actually accidentally hitting the steering wheel. Unfortunately, the one character that's wasted is kind of like a big deal the further you get into the series, but we're not going to talk about her. We're going to talk about Falchio and Kest and Brasti, and those are the main 3. They're so good together. They're very much like Scott Lynch and Joe Abercrombie characters. The dialogue between them is snappy, it's witty, it's funny. It has a lot of heart during a lot of these points. There's also like a lot of duels. I'll throw up a picture here. These guys are basically like the 3 Musketeers. Even though I've never read the 3 Musketeers, I'm going to, but I haven't yet. And that's what a lot of people, compare these to. It once again, it's a swashbuckling romp. That is a big ass trailer pulling in. So someone here must be pretty good. But yeah, it's just a swashbuckling romp. And if you don't know what swashbuckling is, I forget who said this. It might have been Alan from Library of Alexandria, but you know who that is. If a character can wield a rapier and swing from a chandelier and it doesn't seem out of place, then it's swashbuckling. And yeah, that's that could happen. It might actually have happened in the series. Just a lot of fun, very, very endearing characters, insane level of character development. Even characters that are introduced in the last book are just amazing. Chalmers, love me some Chalmers. So yeah, Greatcoats, if you haven't read it, please read it. If you like Lies of Locke Lamora, or Gentleman Bastards, if you like the new James Logan book, Silver Blood Promise, definitely read Greatcoats because it's way, way better. So yeah, that is my February books. This is gonna be a long video because we still got like 4 more months to wrap up. 3 months to wrap. 3, 4, I don't know. So yeah, it's getting really hot in the car because it's about 85 degrees out. So I'm gonna go get my seat, and I'm here like an hour early, so I'm gonna go get my seat and I'm gonna read some more Hyperion. So yeah, I will see you next time. Actually, I'll probably throw some clips in here or whatever. But I will see you for the March wrap up. Okay, so I finished a couple books today. Actually, 3 books. I finished 3 books today. We're going to talk about them here. I'm finally going to do like a little update vloggy type thing when I finish the books. So actually we're gonna save that for last. I finished Outer Dark by Cormac McCarthy today. I actually liked it. I think I'm officially a dude bro now. Finally liking a Cormac McCarthy book. I'll put it up right here because I don't want to get the book out. I already put it back on my shelf. It's at the bottom. It's stacked on under things and whatever, you know. But yeah, Appalachian, Southern Gothic. The atmosphere was really rich. I'm not going to say the characters were great or the plot was great because that's not really what this book was about. It was really just dark, atmospheric, Appalachian mountain vibes. Yeah, Outer Dark, pretty good. Got some incest, you know. Good things there. I also finished, boom, my Memories of Ice reread. I had the last chapter to do today, chapter 25. I've been listening to the audiobook for this. I think I've mentioned that before. But yeah, I've been listening to the audiobook. So this is my second time reading this, and both times it's taken me 3 months to read this book. I really struggle through like the first half, books 1 and 2. I don't know why. Because it's still good. Like, it's not bad. But I've struggled with the first half both times. So the first half is like by far my least favorite sections of the first 3 books. But the second half of Memories of Ice is by far my favorite sections of the first 3 books. So I think that is still definitely like a 5-star book. 4.5, 5-star book. It's so good. Especially, I'm talking specifically the second half of the book here. Just small character moments that I picked up on this time from characters that I know I already love instead of trying to like feel it out. Especially Picker and Blend. I love Picker and Blend. I think, especially reading this book, I think my list of like favorite characters in Malazan would be a lot different than everyone else's because it's mostly just the Marines, because the Marines are awesome. And while all of the gods and the ascendants and all of that jazz and the other races are really cool, I just feel like you know, that human connection with the Marines just hits really hard in these books. So yeah, Memories of Ice, like this half of Memories of Ice is some of the best stuff I've ever read. Capstan, Black Coral, perfect. And then I've also finished Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Before you go, you know, getting your little typing fingers down there in the comments, oh, you finished 3 books in a day, you're obviously not blah 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 blah, you're not you know, taking all of that into full effect. One's a reread that I had 2 hours to listen to, the other one I had like 40 pages of and left, and this one I had 17 pages of left, so whatever. But Hyperion, this is a good book. A little bit of a mixed bag just because of the style that it's written in, with kind of being a play on the Canterbury Tales,
where people are making a pilgrimage to see the Shrike and telling their tales and their reasons on the way. Priest Tale, Scholar's Tale. Two of the best things I've read this year, especially Scholar's Tale. Easily my favorite. Just so heart-wrenching and so good. And it was written fantastically. Let me think. Poet's Tale was probably my next favorite. Poet's Tale was, again, pretty good. Not as good as those other two, but still pretty good. Consul's Tale was probably my next favorite after that. It kind of got, like, I don't know, it was a little weird in the style, being like two different tales put together. But it was alright. It was good. Detective's Tale and Soldier's Tale, easily my two least favorite. Detective's Tale wasn't bad, except when there was action sequences, which there was, like, a lot. I felt like the writing just was kind of clunky and not very good. To be perfectly honest, just not very good. And I know that's because it's from that character's POV, first-person POV, and they are narrating the story to the other Shrike pilgrims, but yeah, I know it's purposeful, it just didn't click for me. And Soldier's Tale, just pretty uninteresting up until like the last 10 to 15 pages. But overall, Hyperion's still a pretty good book. It's my second Dan Simmons book, and I definitely will be reading more. I have Fall of Hyperion, and I will be reading it soon-ish. So yeah, and then I'm gonna do Endymion and Rise of Endymion, and I think I'm gonna do maybe Carrion Comfort for October. Speaking of October, shout out my boy Art the Clown. Terrifier 3 releases on my birthday, so you know where I'll be. So what am I gonna read now? I'm picking up A Feast for Crows. This is, of course, a reread. I'm reading this with my friend Kai. I'm going to be reading this really slow, and I'm only really picking it up right now because I ordered The Heart of What Was Lost by Tad Williams, and Amazon, for whatever reason, even though I have Prime, is taking like a week to ship it to me. So, you know, Amazon sucks. But I need something to read until then. I will also be reading this book back there, which is the Stephen King collection, but you know, whatever. So yeah, Feast for Crows, we're going to be reading that. And I started listening to Boy's Life, a reread, because Boy's Life is one of my favorite books. Reading that with my friend Evie over at the She Was Only Evie. I will link her in the description, although, you know, she doesn't really post anymore, for whatever reason. So yeah, that's what I got coming up, and I will see you in the next part of this video. Alright, so got 2 more months to go through. We're gonna get it out of the way so I can finally finish this video and get it out. I'm gonna pull the mic a little closer so you guys can hear. I believe this is, I don't know the months. May and July, maybe? May and July? No, not May and July. This is April. April and May right here. So, I only read 4 books in April, actually. Because one of them was just so bad. I didn't want to read anything else, and we'll start with that. That is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I actually did have a physical version of this book, but I got rid of it because it was just so bad. And I need to put out a public apology to Jimmy Nuts, because I put this on the Fantasy Network Patreon as my pick, and it got picked because I wanted to force Jimmy into a buddy read with me, and both of us disliked the book. It's terrible. I think there's some good stuff in there. The writing is good. I just think Hanya Yanagihara handles it really poorly, and it's just not good. Also, her views, like in real life, are just not good. She doesn't believe in therapy, which is crazy, especially after all of the shit that she puts Jude, the main character, through. So yeah, she might just be a terrible person, which would check out since she wrote a terrible book. The other one was Kings of Paradise. I listened to this on audio because it's narrated by my boy Ralph Lister, who does the first 3 Malazan Book of the Fallen books. This book was good. It was pretty solid. I was expecting more, honestly, because I've heard it's like brutal and that Ruocchio is just, insane. And Ruocchio's pretty cool, but I was expecting more. I was actually much more interested in the other guy. I don't remember his name because it's been a while since I read it, and I have not continued the series. But I was much more interested in that other character, the prince or whatever. I don't exactly remember. But yeah, I will continue that series just whenever I get a chance because, I got things I want to read more. So that was the 2 books I don't have for April. I also read Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, which is book 1 of Liveship Traitors, which of course is trilogy 2 in Realm of the Outerlings, because she had to make it complicated. And this book was just fine. Pirates are like a slam dunk for me, literally always. And Robin Hobb somehow managed to make them like... Well, I guess most of the book is not about pirates. Captain Kennett, easily my favorite character in this book because he is an actual pirate. And he is easily the most interesting character. Just about every other character I didn't like. I don't like any of these characters except Kennett, and I'm not even supposed to like Kennett. So yeah. Kyle, which everyone hates, he wasn't that bad. And you're like, oh well, he, kind of a spoiler. Well, you know what? Kind of deserved it for being a whiny bitch. But yeah. What book is that? Ship of Magic? Yeah, it was. It was fine. I will continue. But I wanted more. I wanted to actually like some of the characters. I think when I was reading through it, I actually messaged the Discord and I was like, Robin Hobb make a likable character challenge impossible or whatever. So yeah, that's how I feel about old Robin Hobb. She's pretty hit or miss for me. 2 hits, two mostly misses. So yeah. And then the other book I read in April was Matterhorn by Karl Marlantes. Now this is a Vietnam War novel, and it's pretty chunky. It's almost 600 pages. This book was really good. This is easily the best war novel I've read, which is not very many. But the author was actually he's actually a Vietnam vet, so yeah, he knows what he's talking about, and it is an intense, realistic portrayal of war and how absolutely awful it is. It also deals a lot with the racial divide within the military itself in the 60s and 70s. So yeah, this book is really good. So yeah. Now moving on to May. Yeah, May. I read these books here, but I also have 2 that I don't have anymore, or I don't have physical. The Devil All the Time by Donald Ray Pollock. I believe that's what I wrote down here, so hopefully that's correct. This book is a little bit of like Southern Gothic, or Appalachian Gothic, I suppose. And this book is actually the one that got me interested in reading some more Cormac McCarthy. It's the reason I read Outer Dark. This book is awesome. it's really hard to explain because there's like separate timelines and stuff. There's also a movie with Spider-Man, Spider-Man and Edward Cullen. So yeah, I haven't watched it, but I need to. But yeah, that book was pretty good, and I don't really know how to explain it, so I'm not even going to try. If you're into Southern Appalachian Gothic and stuff like that, it kind of reminded me of Child of God by Cormac McCarthy, so if you're into that kind of stuff, definitely check that out. And the other book I don't have physical is The Forgetting Moon by Brian Lee Durfee. Of course, we know this is published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. I read the first book, and I thought it was really solid. As an introduction, it's a little bit slow in the middle, which, you know, Durfee loves Tad Williams, so that checks out. Took a lot of inspiration, and it was really cool seeing, you know, all of the inspiration he took from all of his favorite authors, which with him having a booktube channel, you can actually, you know, oh, I know he likes that, so that's where he got that from, and all that stuff. The world building was awesome. The action was awesome. The characters I thought were just okay. And I thought there was a lot of potential for expansion in the next two books. Unfortunately, I did start book 2 and I got about 600 pages in and I DNF'd it. I didn't feel like it was really going anywhere or expanding on anything from the first book. There was one new POV added, and yeah, I thought we were kind of just retreading the same things, and I didn't feel like the characters were, you know, advancing any further, and it really sucks because I wanted to really like that series, but yeah, I just couldn't do it, and we all know Durfee's going through some health troubles right now, so I hope he can, you know, recover and pull out of that, because we need more Redwall reviews. So yeah, and then these are all the books I have copies of. So let's just get it started. Stephen King's The Dark Half. This book is, you know, it doesn't try to do too much. It knows exactly what it is, and it feels much more like a pulpy horror novel than a lot of his other books. So The Dark Half basically is this author was publishing under a pseudonym, and he got found out. Someone, you know, in the press figured it out that he is this other name, and so they had like a fake burial. They got, like, you know, a graveyard plot and everything, and they had a burial for the pseudonym, got him a gravestone and all that, but the pseudonym, the Dark Half, comes to life and goes on a murderous rampage, and it is gory. I wouldn't say creepy, it's more funny. It's almost like a horror comedy. And yeah, it doesn't try to do anything more than just be a ridiculously brutal horror novel, and I think it might be a movie, and if it's not, it definitely needs to be, because I feel like it could be a great horror movie akin to Terrifier, if they do it right, like in modern day. So yeah, Dark Half, pretty good, high 3-star. This one, Speaks the Nightbird by Robert McCammon. I am currently reading book 3 of this, which is Mr. Slaughter, but we're going to talk about Speaks the Nightbird. This is a masterpiece, not only in historical fiction, but in mystery as well. This is not a short book. I know it doesn't look too big here, but this book is damn near 800 pages. I think the audiobook is about 31 hours. The audiobooks are great, by the way. What Speaks the Nightbird is a clerk to a magistrate. Matthew Corbett is a magistrate's clerk, and they are in the town of Fount Royal. It's kind of a startup town down in, I believe it's modern day South Carolina. and they have on their hands what people are saying is a witch who is responsible for the murders of a couple townspeople. But Matthew doesn't quite think that's exactly what's going on, and he is kind of like, he's doing a little Sherlock Holmes type stuff. He wants to get to the real root of the problem, and there are so many threads that mccammon weaves perfectly into this tale. It's insane. He'll have you looking one way and he'll be doing the other thing. It is quite possibly the most intricate mystery that I've read, which, I'll be honest, isn't a ton. I'm just now getting into my mysteries and thrillers arc, but yeah, Speaks the Nightbird is the pinnacle of that so far, and I am flying through the series. So, I mean, yeah, it's a masterpiece of a book, and you should read it. Also, the writing is fantastic. It really transports you back into 1699 and the early 1700s. Just with the word choice and how he forms the sentences, it's fantastic. Definitely check out Speaks the Nightbird if you like historical fiction or mysteries, or even horror, because there's like some sprinklings of supernatural stuff. It's not really, but it kind of feels that way at times. So yeah, definitely check that out. Now some actual horror I read. I read Summer of Night by old Dan Simmons. This was my first Dan Simmons book, actually. And this is compared to Stephen King's It a lot, and I can definitely see why. It takes place in, I believe it's the early 60s, 62, I think. No, just straight out of 1960. In a small town in Illinois, Elm Haven, Illinois, where Dan Simmons grew up. This is, of course, 5 12-year-old boys trying to get to the bottom of the secret, the dark secret within their old school that is being shut down. So, an evil trying to overtake the town, and, the 5 12-year-old boys have to get to the bottom of it. You can see where the comparisons to It come in. I thought it was really, really good. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but this book, mainly what this book made me want to do is reread It, and I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, but either way, it was really good. I think it's creepier than It. I know that's not necessarily a popular opinion. I got some flack for that, but this book is definitely creepier than It. It's very gory at times, which, is pretty lit. The characters, I don't feel like the character work is as strong as it is in It, but still pretty solid. Also, what came out of nowhere is there's like damn near history lessons about the Borgias, which were a Spanish noble family in, I don't know, the 1600s. And I thought that was really cool. It ties into this book really, really well. And yeah, I thought that was a pretty good book. Now this one I read. I have no clue how I'm even going to come close to talking about this book. It's thundering out. It's about the storm, so if you can hear that, I apologize. But I guess that is appropriate because this is The Deluge by Stephen Markley. This is a humongous book. I think the audiobook is like 40 or 45 hours. It's almost 900 pages. And this is an absolute epic. There are so many characters and so many POVs in this book. And it's about climate change. And it goes from, I believe, I think it spans like 25 years. It goes from like 2013 to almost 2040 or something like that. There is a scientist, a couple scientists. One's like a mathematician, a scientist, a eco-terrorist group that uses they like decrypt messages using mass market paperback copies of The Stand to send to each other, and that's how they like decode their messages, which I thought was really cool. And you can easily tell that Stephen Markley is a huge Stephen King fan. I believe earlier in this video I said he's the literary successor to Stephen King, and that checks out. This book is kind of The Stand-esque, venturing almost into post-apocalyptic territory by the end, when climate change just makes everything go to shit. And I can't decide whether it is absolutely ridiculous or all too real. And yeah, I think that kind of encapsulates it. I think, for one, I think there's too many characters in this book. I think it goes on a little too long, but at the same time, I think it was really, really good. I think I gave it like a high 3-star or something like that. But it's still like the highs are up here and then the lows are kind of like down here. But I think there's probably slightly more highs. Other than the length and too many characters, I think the book was fantastic. There's also a character, and the character is named Keeper, or at least that's all we know his name is. And his sections are in second person, and the audiobook narrator for his sections is really good. I don't remember the name, but yeah. And he lives in my hometown, and it was so surreal seeing him like go around my town and like point out locations. I'm like, I know where that is. I go by there every day. And it was really weird and really cool. Stephen Markley, cool dude, good shit. Last two books I read were kind of go hand in hand here. We got The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins and Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This book may turn me into a mass hole. We'll start with The Hunger Games. I read both of these books for my friend Taylor because, in Discord we are, assigning people months and reading their favorite books, some of their favorite books for each month. So this is April. I'm so confused. These are actually April books, my bad. So yeah, Hunger Games, everyone knows what this is. I think it's fine. I read all three of these books when I was a lot younger, and I liked them a lot more back then. But now that I'm, older and a more seasoned reader, it just didn't quite do it for me as much. I do still really like the movies, though. And then I also read Throne of Glass. I think the series has a lot of potential. So first of all, the audiobook narrator for this, I think it's Elizabeth Evans. Do not like her at all. Her voice is not pleasing to listen to exactly. But I still enjoyed the book even through that obstacle. There is some cringy romance stuff in here. Kind of got a love triangle going on, and that was easily my least favorite part of the book. There's also almost a battle royale type game in this book, and I read this right after Hunger Games. I'm like, can we get out of this? But once you get to the central mystery surrounding this book, outside of the romance and the Hunger Games-esque plot, it becomes really cool. The world building gets really interesting, and the mystery, I was much more interested in what exactly is going on inside this castle. So yeah, I'm interested in picking up the other ones, and I will. Just whenever I get around to them. I'm gonna have to read them physically because I did not want to. They get long, and I did not want to listen to Elizabeth Evans narrate any more than I have to. So yeah, Throne of Glass got some cringy romance, some cringy battle royale games type stuff. But once you get down to the mystery and the world building, it becomes pretty freaking sweet. So I will continue. Alright, so that's going to do it for what I got in this video. I think we should be all caught up on the wrap-ups. My next video, I think I'm going to do a mid-year freakout tag. So stay tuned for that because we are coming up on the smack dab middle of the year. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Tell me what you've read this year and all of that fun stuff, and I will see you next time. Peace out.